Today on You Fantasy Football, I'm going to talk about my draft strategy, and we're going to go inside my war room during the draft. My draft strategy usually revolves around picking. What I want to do is I research and I research and I research my first picks are most important to me because I feel like I have the most control over who I'm going to get, and so with that I can better focus on um, the player that I'm gonna make the cornerstone of my franchise, and obviously you want to have a strong building block for the cornerstone of your franchise. So when I'm researching players, I'm looking for injury patterns, uh, whether they were hot at the end of last season, their current status, um, strength of schedule, their surrounding teammates, especially if they're an offensive player. I definitely look at offensive lines. Offensive lines are a great indicator of how the season's going to go. If the offensive line is poor, then they're going to have a hard time of it for the majority of the season unless they play cupcake teams. And speaking of easy teams, that's another thing I look at. When were they? When I mean, how good did they do against the easy defenses, and how good did they do against the hard defenses? And I look for consistency there. I look for consistency. Um, Otherwise, are they a Chad Johnson? Do they only explode when they're playing easy defenses, or are they able to stay consistent and still do well against the tougher defenses? So those are the things I look at for the beginning picks, and for the later picks, I'm looking for who is going to present me value, who is going to um, outperform their position. Who should I be reaching on? Who should I wait on? Who should I let other people take? Um, all of those factors, all of those things, um, are determined by, like, a lot of the factors I used above, but also just players I think are in line for a good season, um, and other players that I won't pick, other players even late that I just don't believe in. Um, right now, I don't think I'm ready to spend a number 10 pick on Jake Delhomme. A lot of people are big on Jake Delhomme, but I'm kind of curious as to um, his arm after Tommy John surgery. He also missed 3 games the season before last, so I think he's iffy. And to me, even my later round picks are very valuable. I always think I'm getting a good pick every round of the draft. So especially in the 10th round, I think I can get either one, a better quarterback, or two, a better wide receiver. So, and this is the time you're going for your sleepers. To me, if you're going to go for sleepers and you're going to go for potential players, don't use your early picks on those. Use your later picks to draft for potential if you're going to do so. And I've mentioned this before in previous videos. Potential is an ugly word in fantasy football because it usually doesn't pan out, and it usually strings you along with a player taking up your roster spot. And you got to remember, your roster spots are very valuable, so you only want the top players on your roster spots. That said, going into the season, you know that some players will be dropped, and inevitably there will be some free agent star that emerges off the waiver wire. It happens every year, so you've got to account for that as well. And moving into my war room draft day, I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I list my top player at every pick, uh, and that's calculating average draft position. And I go down the line, and obviously my first round pick, depending on what pick I have, there's only a few people behind it because I know that I'm all in all likelihood I'm going to get that person. There's only going to be so many choices that you need with only there can only be 12 players picked in a 12 team round. So, and I played 12 teams, so um, that's what I'm going to do, and it's going to increase as the rounds go. I mean, obviously the 7th round is a lot less predictable of who's going to be available, so I'll have about 10 players that I project can be there in the 7th round. So the Excel spreadsheet's definitely something I have open in my browser, and on the side I always have two fantasy football magazines open, and these are for quick access, so I don't have to open another browser if possible. I mean, I prefer not to. Sometimes you have to, but I have two fantasy football magazines, and they're both on. One's going to be a reference guide. One's going to have overall stats, and the other one's going to have all the schedules. And then I have a strength of schedule printout, and I mean, what all these schedules are for is so that I can make absolutely sure that I align my draft, my bye weeks, or if I'm doing, say, a quarterback by committee, where you pick multiple quarterbacks and interweave their schedules. If I do that, then I'll also have that, and it's not to say that I'm not prepared, but I mean, we're not. I have a lot of this stuff memorized, but I want to make certain that I get it right. So before I do draft the players, I will indeed make sure that the schedules align. That if I do my will will have his replacement or his backup have a good at least a good decent matchup for that week. So I've got all those things. I get a glass of water, so in case I get thirsty, I don't have to get up. Um, it's a big draft day's a big deal. Some newer players might think this is a little weird. You just walk up to a computer and start picking, but I always take my drafts very seriously. I have a lot of fun with fantasy football, but I don't have any fun when if I don't think it. I don't do it, but I don't think it would be any fun if you didn't take it seriously. And plus, I play in some big money leagues, so I've at least got money invested in it to uh, justify the all-out war room uh, for for uh, for a game that's not even in real life, I guess. Um, there was something else I wanted to mention. What was it? Well, I'm gonna end it there. Those were my that's inside my war room and my pre-draft day tips, my draft day research. This was the Fantasy Blogger, and you're watching ufantasyfootball.com.